Welcome to Words from My Face. On tonight's show, we have the Antman movie saga. We're talking how Yahoo saved community and Episodic Games.
That was once in a lifetime. That was one of the greatest round ones of all time, of all sports, ever.
I think though, Beverly Hills Cop RoboCop crossover needs to happen.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Words from My Face. My name is Brian. With me, as always, producer extraordinaire Brendan.
Yo.
I called him producinaire. I don't know if that's a thing.
Kind of that's not my title.
That's not his title. But
we might
are
have
the
a conversation about this.
we did. But we are the one and only home of the Chewbacca chainsaws. Yes. And tonight we do have our entertainment show coming at you. I guess it is Monday night. We kind of do the same thing every week. So if you haven't figured it out by now, I don't know what's wrong with you. But as I said in the intro, we are talking the Ant-Man movie story, how that's been changing and going crazy. We're talking how Yahoo stepped in and saved community, and a little bit about episodic games. And is that the future of gaming? What are we doing with these episodes of games? But let's start it off the same way we started off every week, and that is with the horrible movie of the week. Also, give me the evil man laughing. I like that one too.
Oh, why would you ask for that? I got rid of that a long time ago.
Oh, you got rid of that one? Well, we used to have an evil man laughing voice, and that used to be what we would intro it with. But so this week, the movie was submitted by listener Sean. Thank you, Sean. You helped me pull the Band-Aid off. It's just so happened that my scab had already grown into the Band-Aid, and it was a lot more painful than I had ever imagined. Yeah.
That was a unnecessarily graphic description.
Well, unfortunately...
Of nothing! Like, it wasn't really anything to begin with.
Yeah, because this movie, I watched I, Frankenstein this week, and that was a pretty horrible movie, so... Yeah, I guess we'll just jump into it. I'll give you a brief synopsis. So, Frankenstein's created. Apparently, there's a war between demons and gargoyles going on in the world, and the demons want to use him for their evil purposes. Yeah, so that's how the movie started. And, I mean, I gotta say that there is not a drug invented in this world that would have made this movie more interesting. I mean, the only way this movie could have been better would have been maybe if I had dropped acid and then hallucinated something totally different from what this movie was and just somehow had Frankenstein in the middle.
Maybe had you done so and been facing a wall.
And facing a wall.
Just watch the wall.
I would have to watch the wall, that's true. I would not be able to look at the screen because then that would take me out of whatever happiness I was having the other way. So this one was pretty bad. I even went out of my way in Redbox this one, and I regret spending the 50 cents on gas. That's how bad it is. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so we'll just jump right into it. So like I said, there are gargoyles, and then there are demons. And the name of the gargoyle order could have been, anything cool. I mean, they could have... There's so many cool stories of gargoyles, but they call themselves the Order of the Gargoyle. Like, the most unoriginal name you could possibly have for a gargoyle group. The Order of the Gargoyle. I mean, really.
Could just call them gargoyles.
Still would have been better.
A little bit less.
Still would have been better. Would have been better. I mean, I'm just saying, this was a whole horrible concept for a group of people. Niberius is the name of the main villain. Can you have a worse name for the name of a villain? See?
Pluto.
Nope, you can't. You can't
Pluto.
have a worse.
Pluto would be worse.
Pluto, okay, fine. Pluto would be worse. Or I guess if you called your main enemy Mickey Mouse or something like that, it would be bad. But trust me, Niberius is a pretty bad name for him, and like the main character likes to shout, Niberius! And it's horrible. It's horrible. And I actually feel bad because Aaron Eckhart is in this movie, and I actually like him as an actor. And throughout the whole movie, the one thing that kept coming over and over and over is, why did you do this, Aaron Eckhart? Why did you take what is a pretty good career you have going and try to absolutely ruin it by putting yourself in this horrible movie?
You know what? You can't be that harsh on him. Man's got to pay the bills, all right? Sometimes it's the only work you got.
I think some of his other movies that have paid him like millions of dollars paid the bills. All right, yeah, I think he's one of those guys who could probably wait around for a good role to come up, and
you never
just
know though,
didn't.
because the thing is too, if you're out of movies for a while, maybe it's hard to get back in. You know, can't get another gig unless there's been something recent. But also, you know, some of those actors really do have some money struggles. Like what was it? Nicolas Cage. I hear he has to take every movie that is offered to him because he's just got a lot of debt.
Well, all right. So maybe Aaron Eckhart has a lot of debt. I don't know. Maybe he's not very
maybe it just
conscious
sounded
with
good
his
at the
money.
time. I don't know.
And so one of the main pivot points in this movie is Frankenstein decides to leave because the demons want to catch him, so he goes as far away as he can. Of course, the demons track him down there, so he decides he's going to come back and kill all demons. And he's walking down this alley, tracking a demon down, and he's about to fight him. And I mean, this is like the most back alley of back alleys. Like, you'd have to have like GPS to find your way to this back alley. And right as soon as he starts trying to fight with this demon, a cop shows up. Like, really? Like, what are you doing? I mean, like, it's just they're like, we need a cop to show up. Let's just throw him in there. Okay. And then said cop dies, and of course the gargoyles get mad at Frankenstein for that, and yeah. So, probably...
Gargoyles, fun fact, hate police deaths.
That's just,
big
they're
deal.
against it.
They're
against
sensitive about it. All right?
I mean, that's what GAP is from. Gargoyles Against Police Deaths, GAPD. Yeah, you didn't know about that. You probably have heard of it, you just didn't know. But so the gargoyles go ahead and capture Frankenstein, and they proceed to just berate him for letting this happen. The gargoyle queen, because of course there's a queen of the gargoyles apparently, goes on him for about 10 minutes of the story about how foolish he is and selfish he is, and how this is a war that's meant to be fought in the shadows, and that no humans could ever know what's going on, and gotta keep the civilians out of it. And then literally 2 minutes later, a bunch of demons start attacking the gargoyle compound, and you have this giant street fight that takes place like over like 4 blocks, it seems like, with gargoyles flying around killing demons and demons killing gargoyles. And it's like, wait, I thought this was supposed to be fought in the shadows.
It's too late now. The humans know.
You know?
Our cover is blown.
And not only that, but anytime a demon dies, this giant fireball erupts and goes everywhere. And every time a gargoyle dies, it's like reverse lightning. Lightning that shoots up into the sky. I mean, the most noticeable thing...
That's actually how real lightning works.
Oh,
by the way.
there you go. You learn something
It
new
just
every day.
usually happens really quickly. So, I mean, if you could see it happen, maybe it's slow-moving light then or something. I don't know. But
so again, they have to keep this in the shadows. Just anytime they fight huge battles, and everybody literally within like 100 miles can see this weird lightning storm happening or fires erupting. And it's like, what? And that, not only that, but then during this battle, they're killing so many demons, and literally 90% of this city should have been destroyed by just the fire that the demons let off. But apparently demon fire does not actually burn anything. Yeah.
what's the point?
Yeah.
Why do they have demon fire then?
Well,
I don't think it would
when
burn
they die,
more things.
When they die, they erupt into flames. So
I understand, but what? It's just like a fun thing to do when you die. I don't know, like, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
You think that it would make sense if it was destructive, because okay, you kill this destructive thing, its last thing it does is hurt more things, whatever.
But no, it's harmless demon fire. It's like playful demon fire. It's like, yay, look at the nice fireworks. No, doesn't work. I mean, like, literally half this city should have been destroyed just from the demon fire alone. But nothing seems to get hurt. And also, I got a note that the gargoyles, they can actually switch in between like gargoyle and human form. And the stupid thing is, like, most of them die when for some reason they switch out of their gargoyle form into human form while they're fighting, and I'm just like, why are you doing that? Because you're like you're impregnable as a gargoyle, but yet you're very, very vulnerable as a human. So why switch in the middle of battle?
Did they have a time limit of how long they could be a gargoyle?
Didn't seem like it. Didn't seem like it. They were just like, hey, it's gonna be
They
cool
never
to show
explained
us.
it either. They're just like, sometimes we decide to be human because kung fu is easier.
I mean, it makes sense if they're like walking through the street to, know that they were giant gargoyles walking through the streets. But when you're fighting demons, I think the jig is up. I mean, go ahead, be a gargoyle the whole time. And yeah, so that was pretty bad. And I gotta mention this, a good score to the movie, good music in behind the movie can make or break some movies. I mean, the reason some of the Star Wars movies are so legendary is because they have that great score behind them. And this
Good old
movie,
John Williams behind
John
all
Williams.
the big movies, it
Yeah.
seems. So.
And Star Wars, the newest Star Trek with J.J. Abrams, his reboot had great scores to it. And this was probably like a kindergartner wrote the score to this movie. I mean, I don't think it could have been any worse. I really don't. I'm sorry. Have you ever seen, Forgetting Sarah Marshall?
No.
Well, the main character in that movie, all he does is does the scores to those stupid cop shows. And he's like, I don't really write music. I just do kind of dark tones. And that would have been better for this movie. Nothing was good about this movie from top to bottom. The CGI was pretty bad. I don't normally look at this, but when it's bad, you can really tell. The cinematography was horrible with this movie. The way they have to pan on every shot, like literally there's like 2 or 3 shots where there's just people standing in front of me. The camera's always shifting left to right or up to down. And it's like, can we just have a still camera every now and then? Every now and then. Please. Please. Please.
Can't be done.
Can't be done.
No.
And
Not for this movie, anyway.
And for some reason, even though Frankenstein, they say in the story, he has disappeared for like 200 years, 300 years, whoever knows, nobody really knows how long it was. But the demons were like, hey, let's just collect random bodies for the next 200 years, just in case Frankenstein ever comes back.
Wait, random bodies for what?
They want to reanimate them and make them into a demon army. Sorry.
In case Frankenstein comes back,
Then they can
they want to
learn
be
how
ready
to...
for it?
Yeah, no, they want to learn how
Hey,
to reanimate the corpses. And just in case, the only way they can figure this out is if Frankenstein suddenly shows back up. And they didn't know where he was for like 200 years, but still they collect corpses, and they make a point of saying, I've been collecting these corpses for hundreds of years. It's like...
Wouldn't they decay?
Just a little bit, you'd think. Just a little bit. I mean dead
maybe
bodies
they
don't...
maybe they just been constantly collecting mass amounts of corpses in case he shows up the next day, and some of them go bad, right? They're like bad eggs, been saving around, right? But they just keep collecting them just in case, so that they have a fresh supply just in case he comes.
Just in case.
Like, come on, guys! Though, can't they try and figure out how to reanimate them? These are a bunch of demons.
Well, they were
Don't
trying.
they possess things?
They were trying, but it wasn't successful. And they had a Frankenmouse at one point, and I was like, oh, that's great. And look at the look on my face. That's how excited I was when I was like, oh, cool.
Bite people's ankles right
Yeah,
there.
so-
Scare elephants.
Yeah. So that was the horrible
Because
movie of the
gargoyles
week,
ride
and I
elephants.
won't go into any more detail.
Wait, hold on. Did that happen? Did gargoyles ride elephants? Because that would save the whole movie.
No, because it is part of the horrible movie of the week, so nothing cool like that ever happens. But gargoyles riding elephants really would improve the movie. I mean, can you just imagine them be
Honestly,
like
we need to make an entire movie based around a army of gargoyles that ride elephants. War elephant gargoyle.
If you want to make that movie, hit us up at Words for My Face on Twitter, wordsformyface@gmail.com, or comments down below. We'll write a script for you. We will. It'll have gargoyles and elephants, and we'll come up with some like apes that have human intelligence that ride giraffes, and that'll be the battle. That's right. That's right. Best movie ever. At least better than I, Frankenstein.
And there'll be lots of just random explosions.
Lots.
Why not?
We'll have Michael Bay come in and executive produce.
Sweet.
But yeah, so that was the horrible movie of the week. And again, thank you to Sean But this movie is getting a 1.5 Chewbacca chainsaws out of 5. So not the worst movie reviewed, but not the best. So let's move it on to the first topic of the night, and that is about the Antman movie that has been in production actually since about 2006. Now, if you've been following the story, and we've kind of given you some updates here and there with our quick hit segment, but if you've been following the story, they have been going through some tumultuous times, to say the least. Recently, their director left. They've had multiple different writers coming and going on the script, and let me just run through a quick timeline of what's happened so far in the movie. So in 2006, development was started for Antman, where they hired Edgar Wright as the director. Now, Edgar Wright actually, I think, would have been a really cool director for this. Let me just tell you some of his previous projects. He's done Shaun of the Dead, he's done Hot Fuzz, he did Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, and The World's End. Now, a lot of you might know those Simon Pegg movies. But all of them, relatively good movies. A couple of them very good movies. The World's End, awesome movie. Scott Pilgrim, I thought, was an awesome movie. And Shaun of the Dead was pretty sweet, too. Hot Fuzz, mediocre, but it was decent, you know. And so he started off as the director, and he was also going to be co-writer, and they brought in another guy named, what is his name? Joe Cornish, to be the writer. So they started everything back in 2006. In 2012, they started some pre-production. They did some test shoots of the movie, you know, to see what would work, what wouldn't work, kind of to finalize the script. So that's in 2012. Late 2013, pre-production actually began, and they hired both Paul Rudd and Michael Douglas to be cast as characters in this movie. And Michael Douglas is going to be Hank Pym, and Paul Rudd is going to be Scott Lang. And if you don't know the mythos of Ant-Man, is Hank Pym is a doctor. He actually, in the comics, I believe, is the one who developed Ultron, which in the new Avengers is going to be Tony Stark does it, but I guess that doesn't really matter too much. And Scott Lang was kind of a guy that stole the technology, I believe, from Hank Pym at first, and then Hank Pym was like, you can use it, if you do it for good, you're cool. And that's kind of how those guys hooked up. But, yeah, so those guys were cast, so pretty good cast so far. Everything's looking good for this movie. You know, it's on the upward trend. It's got good writing, it's got a good director, it's got a good cast. Everybody's happy. Until 2014, when Edgar Wright left because he said Disney and Marvel, I'm pretty sure it's mostly Disney, was meddling around a little bit too much with the script. He didn't like the way the changes they wanted him to implement. They were really taking control and changing the movie, he thought, in a bad direction. And now I'm about to say a couple of the new writers that they brought in, and you'll see what direction Disney is trying to kind of push this.
I would have to think, though, that we're talking about now 8 years after this project started, and now they're changing directors. Honestly, you know, movies do sometimes take a while to come out. I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into, especially big production movies. But if they weren't pretty near the end already, it means they probably were already having some problems, especially when they had, you know, big companies behind them, like Disney, like Marvel, because like Marvel's able to churn out movies pretty quickly.
Well,
like,
I mean, this was planned to be part of Phase 3, I believe, of the Marvel Universe. So they knew they wanted the movie to start, but they pushed it back.
Done.
Well, yeah, but obviously not. You know, I mean, they were kind of crazy. So
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, when this happens to movies, when they're delayed this much, usually it means there's other problems. Usually means things are starting to go south, and then to this late in the game switch over things, that's really not going to be a good sign. But go on, tell us.
Yeah,
tell
so
us who they're
Edgar
bringing
Wright
in for this.
Edgar Wright leaves as director, and they bring in Peyton Reed. He's a director of such films as Yes Man, Bring It On. Yes, Bring It On, that cheerleader movie. Yes, that is one of his movies. The Breakup and Down with Love are his big things. So you go from a guy who can bring probably a little bit of a grittiness, a dark humor to the movie, which I would say would be pretty cool for this setting, to bringing in a guy who does like kids movies and like happy love stories
And crappy, like, teen movies?
yeah, about cheerleaders. Yeah.
Which
So
nothing against cheerleaders. Just, I mean, come on now. It was Bring It On. Like they had a bunch of straight to DVD movies too. So
I think the majority of that catalog is straight to DVD movies. So yeah, that's the thing. And then they also brought in another writer, Adam McKay, to kind of revise the script after he left. So that's what's happened with the script. And then recently, and the reason we're kind of talking about it today, is they just announced that there's going to be 2 new production writers. And when I say production writers, these are the writers that are on scene, and while they're filming the movie, if something just does not work, you cannot film it correctly, you need to revise the script a little bit. Those are the guys who kind of go in and tool it around to make it fit better. And they brought in a duo, Gabriel Ferrari and Andrew Bearer. Those are kind of interesting names. But these guys are best known...
Hold on. All I can think of right now, and I know all the listeners out there are thinking it too. Bears driving Ferraris.
Bears driving Ferrari. That would be cool. All right, that's what the movie is. It's gargoyles on elephants against bears and Ferraris.
This has to happen.
Hit us up. Where's my face? We'll put that in motion for you guys. So yeah. But this duo is best known for their work on Sabrina the Teenage Witch movie. Yeah, that's just a dead stare into the camera, because really, you have taken the movie that had high expectations and boom.
That's a Disney one too, isn't it? So that makes some sense to me. Like, this is really the Disney's crew coming in and working through things. Now, I mean, I actually don't have anything against the Sabrina Teenage Witch movie. I don't remember it though. So I remember the TV show a little bit. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we grew up with that TV show on TGIF, and I did enjoy the show while I was 9 years old. But I'm no longer 9 years old, so I can't imagine I'll enjoy it that much. Yeah. But, I mean, really, with all of these changes going on, does this movie have a shot? I mean, can it possibly succeed? Because they have a very strict timetable now, and they've done all these changes. I believe it's supposed to be out in 2016. And to make a good movie, you don't like to see that it's, after taking their time and really developing everything, they took, 8 years between, the green lighting it to actually getting into pre-production. They're now just like, okay, we're going to scrap everything else and move a different direction. So, I just...
Well, I mean, at least it's not in the middle of filming. Yeah.
Well, that's better. But isn't this a death sentence for this movie? Can you imagine just making something really well developed and thought through in this short of time?
Yeah, and I'm sure this kind of thing happens for a lot of movies all the time, especially crappy movies. I don't know. Maybe there's some big movies out there.
Especially crappy movies, I think, is the key words you said in that one.
Maybe there's some big movies out there that happens for, but the last movie I can think of that had this kind of issue, where they just kept changing people and there wasn't like clear communication. They had a lot of like even big name people involved, was like the Finding Nemo animated movie, and that for 4-year-old that was fine, but it definitely lost direction.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, I'm not going to hate on the Finding Nemo movie. I actually did enjoy that movie when I first saw it, and I
loved it when I was 4 years old.
You were older than 4 years old when that movie came out. That came out in like 2000s.
No, it did not. Oh, sorry. Oh, haha. Not Finding Nemo. Wrong movie.
Okay.
Oh man, this would have been terrible. Okay, so Little Nemo, which came out in the 80s.
Yes.
That's a different one. Yeah. Finding Nemo.
Pajama. Yeah, that's all I remember from that movie.
That was the climax. Pajama shouting.
If you haven't seen Little Nemo, just know that the best part of that movie is where he starts yelling pajamas. I don't know why. He just does. And it apparently makes a... Maybe that's not actually... I don't think I could put that on a horrible movie of the week review.
I didn't say it was, but
I still think that was a great movie.
That was also, though, a very high-profile movie that took like 10 years to make, which had all the like biggest names in animation and movies and everything had a hand in it, and it had that big backing of the Little Nemo comics and everything, a big IP. It was supposed to be like one of the best productions ever, and it was was okay. It was good for, like I said, when I was 4, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
4 and 5, I enjoyed it, but there wasn't a lot of depth to it necessarily. There's just like weird stuff going on.
A lot of weird stuff going on. So if you're a kid, that's kind of like, oh, what's that?
Weird
Oh, what's that?
stuff.
Oh, what's that? Oh, what's that? Oh, what's that? And it was entertaining. So, but yeah, I mean,
but it's not exactly one of those timeless classics that you can watch when you're 30. And
the story of Antman, I really like this character of Antman because Hank Pym, the doctor, yes, he develops this suit where he can grow really, really tall, grow really, really small, and all that stuff. But his backstory is he doesn't want to fight the criminals. He wants to help rehabilitate the criminals. That's why he invents Ultron. So you have this really
That's a cool story.
Gray area story there that, you know, how much should I help these bad guys and how much should I try to just stop them? And can you rehabilitate these supervillains? Can you bring back... Are second chances supposed to be afforded to everybody out there? And you could have taken a really cool story where it has, you know, that moral gray area. I mean, that's what I think Christopher Nolan did so well with his Batman ones, was just kind of show you that gray area. Not everything's black and white. There's not a great guy with shark repellent and just the evil Joker, you know.
Even better
there's so much
with X-Men with Magneto.
Yeah, I mean, the way they brought back and they said, hey, he started out good, he actually has... you know, good foundations.
Even when he's the bad guy, you're sympathetic towards him because he's clear about it. There is bad stuff coming. He's seen it before in very severe situations, and he wants to protect not just himself but others like him who he sees as about to be oppressed and who really are about to be oppressed if all the plans go through in the government side. So you have that in. That's just me going off because I think Magneto is one of the best villains for that kind of you understand why he's doing it. You don't necessarily agree with his methods, and clearly the X-Men don't, but you understand why he's doing it. So,
yeah,
which was great. That kind of thing is great.
So you take a movie that could have been something good like that, a real thought-provoking movie, not just some sort of superhero, I'm going to smash him up with no real story, and you change it. So... I don't know. Let us know what you think about the movie. Is it going to succeed? Is it going to fail? Are you going to watch it still? Or are you just going to wait for it to come out on DVD? Let us know in comments down below. At Words to My Face on Twitter, wordstomyface.com, and of course Google+. We're there too. We're everywhere. You can't get away from us.
Even with your gargoyles on elephants.
or your bears and Ferraris. You got to watch out for all those. Yeah, so, yeah. So that's that. But let's move it on to the next story, and that is a little bit of TV news. And now this isn't breaking news. We only do a show once a week, so we don't always have breaking news going on. But I thought this was a pretty cool story that was worth mentioning, and that is that Yahoo has recently stepped in to save Community. Now, if you don't know what Community is, it was a show that was on NBC for about the past 5 years. Had people like Joel McHale, I believe Chevy Chase was in it, Allison Bree's in it. So a bunch of good actors. A lot of people really, really loved it. It was kind of a quirky comedy about people going back to community college. So, good fan base, I mean, not the biggest fan base, but a good fan base. And NBC just didn't quite get enough out of it, so they went ahead and canceled the show last year. Now, there was a groundswell of petitions and different things trying to get the show back on air, and a lot of people thought that Netflix was actually going to step in and save it, similar to what they did with Arrested Development. But it turns out a dark horse, you might say, stepped in, and that was Yahoo. Stepped in and they said, hey, we're going to keep the show going. It's now going to be on Yahoo. So I don't know quite how they're going to air it, but it's probably not that hard because you just go to yahoo.com, and I'm sure they'll say, here, press this, and you can watch the movie. So,
yeah, that's
pretty cool.
That's pretty cool, and I was going to say that this seems to be maybe a trend coming on because, like you mentioned, Netflix came in with Arrested Development.
Don't go that far yet. Don't go that far yet.
Sorry.
Like, what? No, hold on. Well, and I wanted to mention because that's going to be what we're going to talk about, really. But I also want to mention.
So why don't we just talk about it, Brian?
Because I want to say something else first.
Introduce the next segment of it.
All right, I'll cue you when you're supposed to do that. And Yahoo is also Yahoo is
Who's
also
producing who here, Brian? Who's producing who?
Well, I'm hosting you, so ha ha.
Yeah, producer, I got veto power over hosts. You do what I say.
Says who?
Even though really
let us know
come up
if you
with
want
all
Brendan.
topics.
Let us know if you want Brendan to have veto power in the comments down below. We're going to take a vote, and I'm going to vote myself, and I'll probably be the only one voting, and I'll vote for me. I win.
Everyone's
so
gonna
we
vote
don't
for
even
me,
need a vote. I already won.
And I'll veto Brian's vote. So
Okay, that's how it's going to go. But yeah, so Yahoo also stepped in and said they were going to keep the budget the exact same, which was a pretty high $2 million per episode budget. So that's
Wow.
pretty cool. Rumors are also that they're going to have a movie to kind of wrap the whole series up in a bow. So, Q.
So, is there a trend for, movies bringing back? We were talking about just a second ago.
Yeah.
Netflix
Like Netflix.
brought back Arrested Development.
Exactly correct. And,
Years later, though.
years later, which is fine, like, tell me you wouldn't love to see Firefly brought back by Netflix or one of these groups.
I thought someone was talking about that. Or was that just
should.
everyone's wishful thinking?
Well, they had a 10th year anniversary last year, I believe, and so everybody was kind of like, "Oh, they're gonna bring it back." No, there really wasn't. But
They did bring a
Firefly,
movie.
Everybody loves the Avengers. Firefly made by Joss Whedon, just like the Avengers. So I mean, yeah, and they did have a movie that wrapped it all up, Serenity, which still to this day is one of my favorite movies of all time. I watched the movie before I watched any of the episodes of the show, and still I fell in love with that whole cast of characters. So that's pretty cool. But yeah. Is this going to be a trend for the future? I mean, are we going to start seeing, a lot of the talent from these network broadcast TV stations, like NBC, ABC, CBS, say, hey, you know what? I'll have more freedom. I'll have the same budget. Why don't I just go to Yahoo? Say, hey, I got this real cool show idea, or Netflix or HBO. Why would you want to put yourself on broadcast TV anymore if it's just such an uncertain landscape?
Well, we definitely see already that there's a lot more original content, and even good original content, sometimes good original content, coming out on these streaming services. Like Netflix has several, Amazon Prime has several, Hulu's is getting a lot actually pretty soon. They already have a few. I guess Yahoo's trying to bring stuff up. YouTube has a whole bunch of shows that are original shows by the various creators that go through YouTube. So all that stuff is really coming together right now. And the situation we're talking about here, it doesn't really sound like they had an option to just opt out. But once they're dead, then yeah, I mean, if all these other streaming services are already looking for more content to churn out, and they can see something that already has a following, that's just gold for Netflix and Amazon Prime and such, because they also can look at least if they do a trial, show the old episodes on their service, they can see and say, hey, look, we're getting 10,000, 100,000, however many views of these episodes. Let's use them.
And that's a really good point, because success on one of the streaming sites, or even HBO or Showtime, is a lot. You have to do a lot less to be very successful on those networks. The HBO, the Netflix, and everything. Like a really good, successful show, I believe House of Cards is one of Netflix's most successful one. That gets like an average of 2 million viewers per show. Whereas if you put that on to a network TV, 2 million viewers per show gets you canceled within 4 episodes. I mean, that's.
I'm not sure that's accurate. I think a lot.
I'm going to say it's accurate.
I think that it might depend on the time slot you get, because I think there's plenty of shows that don't breach 100 or don't breach 1 million ever per episode. It depends on the time slot. Like primetime shows, maybe depending on your time slot. But
well, I'm not talking about like shows that they show at 12:30 at night. I mean, I'm talking about the primetime shows, and that's why would you, if you were a talented director, executive, anything that has this really great new show idea, why would you want to bring it to broadcast TV? Yeah, there's the possibility that more people can see it, but with the internet the way it is nowadays, everybody has Yahoo. I mean, and if Yahoo's going to play it for free, maybe put a couple ads in here or there, make just as much money, and you get a $2 million per episode budget, you could make an amazing show. And I bet you Yahoo would be a lot less controlling over what goes on. You could do a lot more. There's a lot less censorship on those, because it's people gravitating towards it freely of choice, not like some people
it's not
say.
regulated the same way. It's not regulated this. I mean, cable isn't technically either. other than they self-regulate themselves. And Netflix is going to do, and all the others are going to do that depending on what audience they want to reach. So obviously, if you want to reach a broader audience, you still make it more family-friendly. Like you make it so that the teens can watch it.
Depends on your demographic, but you know who you're reaching out to. But I just think it gives you more freedom and a little more creative license. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Let us know in comments down below. At What's My Face on Twitter, what'smyface@gmail.com. Do you think this is the future of TV? Is this just going to be a good supplement to broadcast TV, or are we going to see broadcast TV change into something totally different? Because that's still the only free way most people can watch TV. So I don't know. Let us know what you guys think. So that's pretty interesting. But let's move it on to one of my favorite segments of the night, and let's see if he's ready. And that is Quick Hits.
No.
No, he's not ready.
I'm vetoing.
Oh, you're vetoing Quick Hits, huh? Rise up, Words My Facians.
I could do my thing when I want to do it. You have to do yours when you want to do it. Oh.
But let's start this again. I was going to say Quick Hits.
Right. Yeah, yes, screw you.
So, me and producer Brendan are going through a little spat right now. But
don't say it like that.
We're brothers. Come on, we can have spats. It happens.
Chewy.
By the way, for all of you out there who don't speak Wookieean, that was Chewbacca saying Brian is right. I agree with him. Brendan, don't make me come over and chainsaw you. That was the translation.
That's not what I heard. I think you might have. Missed some of those. I don't know. Wookiee declensions? I don't know.
Alright, yeah, no, I'm just gonna say I win. Haha, declared the winner! Haha! But let's move it on to the first Quick Hit of the night.
Nope,
but,
not coming.
So, now, Steam Summer Sale just ended, and if you missed it, I'm sorry, we didn't really put out that much. But if you missed Steam Summer Sale, Humble Bundle is having a really cool summer sale where they are, over the next 2 weeks, they're going to be rotating games daily, and you are going to have a chance to get some games up to 85% off. Now, all the benefits from this Humble Bundle, because if you don't know Humble Bundle, they donate a lot of their proceeds to charity, and it's going to help the Red Cross.
As much as you... Well, I guess not as much as you want for the store, but they do still give a bunch to charity.
But so this is going to benefit the Red Cross and another charity called Child's Play. So if you want to find some pretty cool games, you're bored during the summer, no big new releases coming out, check out that site. That's a pretty cool one. So let's move it on to the next Quick Hit.
No.
Okay. No. Mm-mm. No.
Yeah.
See? So don't make me send Chewbacca over there. And that is Destiny will have 3, count them 1, 2, 3 Premier Editions. You're going to have the Ghost Edition, where you get a really shiny book. You're going to have the Limited Edition, where you get another shiny book. And both of those also give you access to the first 2 expansion packs to that. And then you'll have the Digital Only, which is a pretty cool one, because it seems like games are pretty much pushing that, hey, download our game instead. Digital Only Edition, which will be called, what is that called? The Guardian Edition. So, people looking forward to Guardian. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore.
I don't know what you're talking about either.
People looking forward to Destiny, go ahead and pre-order and get one of those editions for yourself. But let's move it on to the next Quick Hit.
No. Just no. We're not going to go through this again.
That's part of the show. We got to move it on to the next Quick Hit. You can't just not... and then you do it in the middle of a sentence.
Yeah.
And that is another summer sale is going on right now, and that is Xbox is having a summer sale where they're selling a lot of Xbox 360 classics for up to 75% off. You can get the likes of Skyrim if you haven't played that game. Amazing game. Go out and get it. That's 75% off, I believe, either today or tomorrow. And then another game like Deus Ex Human Revolution. Good game, not the greatest game. If you really want to play a good Deus Ex game, go ahead and grab the first one ever that was on PC. That was an awesome game. So, check those out. Let's move it on to the next Quick Hit. And that is that 2 new cast members have been added to the Star Wars 7 roster, and that is Crystal Clark and Pip Anderson. No word as of yet to what parts they'll be playing, but they are relatively unknown actors, and J.J. Abrams released a statement saying that, hey, we wanted to bring some new up-and-comers up. That's kind of what the Star Wars universe does. We find new actors, Harrison Ford, that's where he was discovered, and try to bring them up. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And so let's move it on to the last quick hit of the night. And that is Transformers Age of Extinction has come in #1 for the second week in a row in the box office with a good $36.4 million, bringing their 2-week total up to $174 million. Wow, that's a pretty big one. Coming in #2 was probably the worst movie of all time and one that I will never watch. And if you do submit it to Horrible Movie of the Week, I will ignore you. And that is Tammy. How that got #2 with 21 million, I don't
even know what Tammy is.
You're lucky because it just looks like it has Melissa McCarthy in it, and she's actually a very funny lady. It just looks absolutely horrendous, though. So, yeah. And then coming in #3 for the first week debut, Deliver Us from Evil, and that came in with 9.5 million in the box office. So, yeah, that was your quick hits of the night. Wow, you're really intense on those quick hits, huh? Getting all up close in the camera. But yeah, so let's move it on to the last story of the night, and this is something I want to talk about because I seem to be seeing it pop up more and more and more in video games, and that is episodic video games. And when I say episodic video games, I mean they're games that are released in portions. So you'll have one good segment 1 week, and then maybe another month or two down the road they'll release another big segment, and then another, and so on until the whole game is completed. I'm talking about the likes of The Wolf Within. That was a Telltale Games one, which is apparently pretty cool.
Telltale Games does a lot.
Yeah, Telltale. This is kind of Telltale Games' thing. Another one that I really enjoyed was The Walking Dead. I only played the first season, didn't play the second season. But again, you can have seasons with these, and each one was like $5 per episode, and so you're paying like $20 for a full game. That was pretty awesome. Like The Walking Dead actually won several Game of the Year awards from several prestigious places. I believe like IGN gave it one, and Game Informer or something like that gave it one. So that's pretty cool. But I just want to talk about what type of impact this will be having on gaming in general. Because not only have you seen these games that are dedicated as episodic games, but you're starting to see major games like BioShock Infinite had 2 episodes released of Burial at Sea. Pretty cool add-on to the story. Actually takes you to a whole different realm. Same basic characters, but a new way to explore the game. So a game that everybody loves, we're just going to give you a little bit more in a different setting. You have another game like Alan Wake that had like 2 or 3 episodes added on. And a lot of these episodes are cool because you don't actually have to own the first game to be able to play these other ones. So,
although, yeah, okay, so that's a little bit different, but I was going to say, like, some of these that are just like adding on to the games, is it really that different from, say, just giving an expansion or some DLC?
Well, see, I think the lines are getting blurred between expansion packs and episodes.
I mean, they don't really do expansion packs. You don't see explicit expansion packs as much anymore.
Yeah, like
I guess every once in a while there is, but
a game like Skyrim came out with 2 really cool expansions to the game. I would call them expansion packs because they added on new areas, they added on new characters, a few new weapons, but didn't really add to the overall huge game as much as, you know, bringing you an actual like new game. So
yeah, and I think what is it? World of Warcraft still does expansions, which are really huge when they do it now. Every few years, they just keep adding on to that game through what they still call expansion packs. But I think the reason they still call it expansion packs is just because it's been going on since the era when we had expansion packs, like,
well,
what,
yeah, I mean, yeah,
10,
and Blizzard,
12 years ago.
Blizzard is one of those companies known for releasing these huge expansions to a game. You look at the Warcraft games, you look at the StarCraft games, those all, and I mean, is Blizzard Diablo?
Diablo. Yep, Blizzard's Diablo.
So they don't really call theirs episodes, but they call them expansions. And so that's pretty cool. I definitely enjoy seeing that because, you know, you have a game that you really love, they get a lot of fan support, and they say, hey, we're going to add a little bit more to it. Now, it's a little bit different with some of these other episodic games because that's supposed to be what the whole thing is, you know. each part, you have to have 5 episodes to make up the game, not just here's an expansion pack to something you already loved. Which is a pretty cool idea because it almost gives you a chance to buy the first couple hours of the game, and if you don't like it, stop playing. No harm done. But
You don't
if
have
you
to
do
buy
like
the full game if it turns out to be not something you like.
Yeah,
Or if
you
you start
can-
getting bored part of the way through, even. So more so than just a demo of situation. So
and you can keep going if you want to, or you don't have to. So I don't know. Are we going to start seeing this become more of a trend with games? Are we going to get more games like that? Because look at the Half-Life series. You have Half-Life 2, Episode 1, and Episode 2, but yet there's supposed to be an Episode 3 that hasn't come out for like 10 years. So is that also going to be a
Valve.
problem for people who want to play these games? That just, it never gets released. Like, can you ever see a future where they're like, you know what, we're done developing this game on Episode 3 out of Episode 5. You know, it's like, what the hell? No, I want to finish the game. You must finish the game. About your first 3 episodes, finish the game. You know, I mean, I don't know where this is going to go in the gaming
I thought
industry.
I'd seen some games, they'll come out and they'll have like all the episodes ready, but sometimes it also makes sense not just from the consumer point of view, but it's sometimes used to see where the interest is and whether they have enough money, like the studio has enough money to keep producing the game. Like I know recently the Double Fine adventure game, they had what they thought was enough money because they had huge amounts from the Kickstarter, way overdid their goals for the Kickstarter, but they ended up making it so big that they started running out of money. So what they did is they said, okay, we're going to release the first episode of it now. Everyone that had the Kickstarter will have this episode. They'll also have every future episode, but we'll start trying to sell this out so that we can get money to finish the game in a second episode. You see that with a couple other stuff. I assume that's a big push for a lot of the episodic stuff is doing that. Sometimes they're more self-contained, like the Sam and Max series, I think, had a bunch of episodes too.
They actually have
And-
3 seasons, I believe they call it.
Yeah.
I actually got the first season, and now I love Sam and Max from the Hit the Road game. That was an amazing game. The new ones don't quite hold up, but I'm glad that those characters just haven't died. I like those characters.
Yeah, but they've released an episodic. I don't think I actually played it, but I got the impression that you get like each episode is maybe like one of the mysteries or a major chunk of a mystery to solve. Mm-hmm. Right?
Well, each episode is pretty much its own little storyline.
Yeah, so
and
it
then
could be like
they connect
standalone.
together. They
Yeah.
connect together as an overarching arc. I should use English better. But
So that's like
yeah,
a
so-
cool way of doing things, though. I know even like Sonic 4, strangely enough, came out in episodes where you just have a bunch of the levels here, and then when you're done with that, you get a whole bunch of other levels for episode 2. But they spent a lot of time in between to see if people even still cared about the old school Sonic series. I think is the reason why it's so much time and why go episodic for Sega.
Well, I mean, and did you realize that the first episodic game ever released was actually released in 1979? So we're talking about it like it's a new idea, but it's been going on forever. And I believe it was a series of games called the Dungeon Quest games, and that was, I think, an Atari-based game. And then we've also seen it with Sega. Sega's actually done the episodic thing before. With Shining Force 3, they actually released that in 3 episodes. The first episode was released on Sega Genesis, and I believe the second 2 were released on Sega Saturn, so it even breached systems. But I think you're right. It's a cool way to just judge interest in what people would want to see. And you know what? Maybe one of these developers puts out a couple episodes, they run out of money, and like Yahoo did with Community, somebody bigger steps in and saves them. Says, hey, well, we like your game, we think there's a potential for it, but we want to market you a little more.
Yeah, and I know I have a few episodic games too that I only picked up because the first episode was cheap or free. I have the Back to the Future game because I saw it. It was the episode 1 is free, and then you can pay for if you like that much, you pay for the next episode for a little bit of money. Pay for the next one. It's another way of luring people in, kind of like what we've talked about before with some of the free-to-play formats where you're getting like a stripped-down version of a game, and then if you pay, you get the full version of the game after you've already been drawn in. Episodic is just another way of doing that. So,
Yeah.
and I think it's a pretty nice way to do it.
And my basic opinion about this is I like it because I understand why it wasn't really feasible years and decades ago, because internet and a lot of these episodic games are download. You don't really see them come out on consoles, like the actual hardware part, like
Not as
the
much.
discs and stuff. But yeah, 10 years ago, the bandwidth wasn't out there. I mean, everybody was still downloading stuff on a 56.6K modem, and it would take you like 4 days to download one of these 1 gigabyte games. So I see internet kind of expanding that, and I think it has a bright future. But you know what? What do you guys think about that? Let us know in comments down below. Do you think this is a good way to do games? Is it a bad way to do games? Are you cool with it as long as it doesn't become the mainstream way of doing games? I don't know. Let us know at Words to My Face on Twitter, wordstomyface@gmail.com, wordstomyface.com, and comments down below. Google Plus. Oh, you can't forget Google Plus. It's out there. They actually sponsor us. You see the little Google Plus here? I'm going to try to point at it. It's hard to find my finger in the camera.
They do not officially sponsor us.
They don't sponsor us, but
If
they
you'd
do.
like to officially sponsor us.
They
though,
let us do the
this is-
show. You see the Google Plus symbol in the corner every time. So yeah, if Google, you want to sponsor us, hit us up. You know how to get a hold of us because we do all our stuff through you. We love you, Google. But yeah, I think that's going to be the show for tonight. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, let us know any of your thoughts on any of our subjects for tonight. And I do need a horrible movie of the week for next week, so drop that one in the comment box down below, or at Words to My Face on Twitter, Google Plus. You know what? We have a Facebook page thing too. I forgot to mention that because that's actually how Sean got a hold of me, was through Facebook, and he's a really good friend of mine. So that I mean, it makes things possible. So so. If you'd like to pull off the Band-Aid for me next week, and I'll come up with another gory reference to pulling off the Band-Aid next week, go ahead and torture me with that. But as always, I am Brian. With me, as always, producer extraordinaire Brendan.
You.
And I hope he's ready for it, and I'm going to milk this a little bit to give him some time, but we're going to headbang our way out of this place. Oh man, I enjoy doing that, because my hair is always really crazy at the end of it. But, see y'all next week, or see you on Thursday, watch our Thursday sports show.